There is no way we just got a completely new Zelda game. Much like you guys, I am extremely excited for Echoes of Wisdom. Absolutely no one was expecting them to show a completely new Zelda game at the recent Nintendo Direct. And we got a 5-minute trailer showing a ton of gameplay. So I thought I'd go through and show you all the hidden secrets I found that you might have missed. So without further ado, let's jump into it. First off, we see Link in some sort of dungeon along with 3 Dark Nuts. From there, we see Link take on all 3 of them with a spin attack. I would like to point out that while Link does have the Hylian shield, he may or not have a redesigned version of the Master Sword. Though the design of the sword, if it's not the Master Sword, does resemble the cloak he is wearing as well as a bow he's seen shooting later in the clip. From there, we see Zelda trapped within a crystal, much like in Ocarina of Time. We then see the one and only Demon King. Link then throws the hood and fights him. Link defeats him, but the trident stays and causes these rifts we see all throughout the game. Link falls into these rifts, which looks like it leads to the Dark World. Here's the bow I mentioned earlier. It does match the hood and the sword, but this design we haven't seen before. And as of why Link has these, I don't know. But to carry on, Link shoots the crystal and Zelda is freed. We then see her escaping the dungeon from the rifts. And then we see her walking out and we get a good look at the land. Not only do we see places like Death Mountain in Hyrule Castle, but we also see what looks to be a future dungeon. From there, we see all the rifts opening up and people falling into them as well as Link. But then we see Zelda in some kind of dungeon as the mysterious fairy Tri appears. Tri then gives her the Tri-Rod and we see Zelda walking out of the castle. But we can also see one more important thing, the cloak Link was wearing. Most likely in the beginning of the game, we'll see her grab it, as at the beginning of the trailer, we see Link throw the cloak. From there, we get our first look at Echoing, as Zelda uses the rod to learn the table, and also learning other things such as water blocks, beds, and boxes. I would like to point out that at certain points we can see Tri possessing more than 3 triangles. We can see one of these triangles used to make it, so we'll most likely be collecting a lot more of these triangles throughout the game. At the part where Zelda is seen learning the water block, it shows her in an area that is most likely within the rifts. So it does appear that these rifts lead to a completely new world, which is super exciting because everybody loved the depths in Tears of the Kingdom. From there, we get a look at Zelda using the water blocks to get to the top of the cliff. But we also see an oxygen wheel. The next part is of her scaling a mountain, getting past different obstacles with echoes she has learned. But the next part, we see her using different items to get into Garuda Town, as we see a Garuda in the corner. It makes me wonder though if we will see the Gorons in this as well. The next part is of Zelda killing a moblin and then using it as an echo to fight an enemy. This shows just how creative the echo ability is. But after that, we see Zelda riding another echo to kill these crabs. Next is an underwater scene where again we see the oxygen wheel, as well as her spawning an echo to kill an enemy fish. Next we see all the crazy stuff you can do with the echo ability, as Zelda is seen echoing meat to distract the birds as she echoes a Deku Baba to kill them. Next we see her running from the rifts, and it seems like this is from the scene at the beginning of the trailer where she's running down the stairs. The next shot is of her making stairs to climb on trees, which you haven't been able to do in past 2D Zelda games. After that, we can see her winding up a mechanical Octorok to fight moblins, but it's not an echo, so it seems like this is going to be another ability that you can get. After that, she's seen grabbing onto a bird echo to fly across lava. This is most likely in a dungeon, or at least somewhere in Elden Volcano. Next, we get a quick scene of Zelda in some sort of shop, owned by what looks to be an old Sheikah man. But then we get a look at what could be another Sheikah, and quite possibly even Impa, as it resembles her very much. It's an old lady with white hair and a katana. The next part is very interesting, as we see the River Zora and the Sea Zora arguing. so we'll most likely have to get them to stop in the game. After that, we see a Deku Scrub, one that's selling potions. Now, I'd like to point out that what he's holding is a potion that has multiple color liquids in it. And on the sign, we see this as well. So either this is just for design, or we'll be able to mix them together for different results. But then we see the Great Deku Tree. This one resembles the one from Ocarina of Time. But one strange thing is the Master Sword does not appear here. There's three possible things that could have happened. Number one, the sword Link is holding at the beginning of the game is simply just the Master Sword. Second, the Master Sword is missing and we'll have to find it in the game. But the third option is that the Master Sword isn't in this game, and whichever timeline this game takes place in, at that point in time, the Master Sword is not in the Lost Woods. Once again, we see Zelda underwater, and she's running from what looks to be a cyclone. We can also spot out jellyfish. Now, after replaying this a couple times, I found there's some sort of giant squid in the background. Whatever it is, it's most likely chasing after Zelda as well, and it might even be some sort of boss for one of the dungeons in the game. Next, we see Zelda in the dungeon once again. Now, if this is the same dungeon or not, I don't know. But what looks to be some sort of giant starts rising from the ground. Now, this is obviously a boss, but I think it's towards the beginning of the game. Because if you look at the fairy Tri, you can see that she only has 3 triangles, showing that in this point in the game, you have not collected a 4th. From here, we get a couple shots of Zelda learning echoes, such as a sign, a cannon, this kind of spike ball, and then what looks to be a Lizalfos. After this, we see Zelda using echoes, such as what looks to be Skulltulas, beds in some sort of dungeon, then Zelda uses a pea hat to fly, then some sort of flaming enemy, and then finally we get a look at a Re-Dead. It's super cool to see these enemies return to the series, since they've always been such a cool enemy. And then for the final shot, we can see a couple things, such as a heart piece, an Octorok, what looks to be Kakariko Village, this weird looking giant chest, and then we see Link and Ganon. Now, what happens to Link, we don't know, and whether he's possessed or just trapped in the Dark World, we'll have to figure out when the game comes out. And that is all the hidden secrets I found in this trailer. If you found something that I didn't mention, make sure to let me know in the comments. I cannot wait to get more news on this game. The fact that we're getting another 2D Zelda game is just crazy. But with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.